Hey everyone, Micah here with Blue Milk Gaming, and I'm joined with Nick Taxter and Carlos Apodaca. And today we're going to be going over Ashes and some of our thoughts on leaders, cards we like, and decks to beat in the set. So to start off with the leaders that we're looking at, one of the first ones that we're trying is Grief Karga. You can play him in red, blue, a lot of different things you can do with him by giving an advantage token to a unit or a token that you've created this phase. Yeah, Carlos, what do you think about Grief?
I think Grief is kind of like an interesting merge between Quinlan and Sabine because it's a ping that can either go to units or to base. It's flexible in the fact that it can fight for board or be aggressive, so there's a lot of ways to go about building him. He does something generic, but it's strong, it's consistent, and this game has turned into a much more unit-based combat, so I see a lot of potential in this leader.
Yeah, I
He's going to be
agree.
a monster in limited too, just because being able to hit those breakpoints and just get ahead with the extra push, and even in Premiere, I think will he make it into the top? Will he replace like Lando in any kind of thing in Yellow Hero? I'm not sure, but he does have some new good tools, and there's so many ambushing units in Yellow that it's kind of like set to Boba, but better.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can go with Grief. Yeah, like Nick said, limited is going to be a huge thing with him. I think as well. Being able to just get ahead on board early with favorable trades will be really important and always has been in limited, especially in this set with not a lot of removal and not a lot of ambushers. So that'll be a thing to keep our eye on. All right. The next leader we have on here is Cad. Nick or Carlos, you guys want to talk about that one?
Yeah, Cad's just kind of another mid-rangey red guy that kind of synergizes with all the pingy stuff you can do in red already. A little bit reminiscent of Boba being able to like just do some damage here and there. It kind of feels like probably more that mid-range role, but also kind of reminds me of like the control-y stuff with Dedra or Aura Red, where you're kind of like using it to get you a little bit more damage and finish off with other things. I still think you're probably going to end up going blue because blue red villain has really got a lot of good tools. Even if you're not going control, I think that's just kind of where you're going to see it shine, and just being able to like clean up a bunch of units with like what's it, IG 2000 stuff like that. I don't know how he's going to be in limited. I feel like I haven't really looked at too much of like how that pool is going to match up. It's more like, do you have actually other damage to like capitalize on the bonus damage from CAD there or not?
Yeah, I think he has some promise in limited. At the very least, it's going to be a leader ability that you're going to be using every turn, depending on if you want initiative or not, but you will always have that option. So I believe he'll be something solid and limited, at least just getting some value out of his leader side. What are your thoughts, Carlos?
Yeah, at least starting off with limited. We saw Aura Sting last set was pretty good. The downside for Aura was being a 7 flip leader is really tough in limited. Unless your pool was like very rampy or defensive, it was hard to be out there. But the 6 flip leader is about where you want to be most of the time. It's not too late to stabilize, and has a strong ability. And then for Premier, we've seen a lot of ping leaders that just about always been good. This one is a different one. Similar to Quinlan, you can choose where the ping goes, but it's a little more conditional and takes an action.
Taking off shields is really nice. I feel like that's one of the nicest part about it.
Yeah, I found that very early on in my testing. I was playing some Talzin and had a secretive Sage out and just pinged it and then finished it up. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a good leader right away. So yeah, Shields is very important in this game right now. As we'll see some of the new cards that we're talking about. There's a lot of shields running around, so wouldn't be surprised to see CAD a lot in the upcoming tournaments. All right, our last leader is Luke. Carlos, what are your thoughts on Luke? We've when he first got released, I think we were really high on him, and then as we've continued to test, I feel like our opinion is going a little downhill, but something that he could make a splash in the meta.
Yeah, my first and main way I summarize it is dies to stranger, and well, that's just one interaction. The problem is he's just very fragile for a 7 flip leader. A lot of the main ones we've seen have had like 8 to 9 HP. they sit around. Like for example, Yoda was very good because he was a 4/9. It was very difficult for aggro decks to kill him.
And he killed something when he came out.
Exactly. Like Luke's ability is a little bit different to where he actually wants a bigger board to actually capitalize on the healing, which means you have to be playing units. You have to have your units stick around. You can't be trading, which is what most of these control decks want to do to get to late game. So he's kind of in a weird spot, and I don't think he changes the matchups in the way that he should when compared to other heroic leaders like Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I think Luke is still just kind of like held up by the fact that like blue green hero has a lot of good cards, and you can just be like, well, he's a big leader, and you got some good end game cards, and if he lives, it's really hard to deal with him if you do have the board. But it is a little bit more like win more in that situation where you kind of if you flip Luke and you're behind on the board, he might just die, and then you're probably not catching up.
All right. I think that wraps us up for leaders, and now we'll start talking about some of our favorite cards from the set. Carlos, you want to take us away with some vigilance cards that you like?
Alright, starting off with Vigilance, I have Koska Reeves has been a card that I've really liked in testing. At first, it's just a 4-cost 4/4, which isn't great, but we are seeing a lot of unit combat this go around. There's also still hard control, which is killing a unit every round, ideally. So you're just getting a 4/4 Sentinel with a 2/2 shielded right behind it. And even if they kill your Koska Reeves in a value trade, you have a Crafty Smuggler, essentially, to clean up whatever unit took it out. So it never feels like you're behind in value just because you get 2 units instead of 1. And all you're really trading is 1 HP when compared to other 4-cost units. And then Ryder Azadi is just one of our favorite cards, was Regional Governor. And this is the restored Regional Governor himself, so he's instead of a 1/4, he's a 2/5 with Restore 1. Comes out a turn later, but doesn't feel terrible to just play on curve, unlike Regional Governor. So it's just a good unit, does its thing, and can stop the blowout plays.
Yeah, I'm excited for Ryder because one of the main pulls to Blue Hero was Galen, so to have that similar regional governor effect, and now you can just play this in Blue Villainy.
Or both.
Or both. All right, so some cards that I'm looking at. Imperial Armored Commandos. I think this card is going to be one of the most fun or most annoying card to play or face in the set. This is going to be a limited monster. It's a common, so congrats if you pull 2 or 3 of these. It's a 4/3 with Sentinel and Shielded. We know how well Shields can do. We know how well Sentinels are. This is going to be seen in Premiere, in Limited. It's going to be pretty much everywhere that you can think of in Blue Villain decks, would be my guess. The other card is another shielded unit, Blue Hero this time, the Mandalorian. It's a 5/4 shielded, and if damage would be dealt to another friendly unit, you may defeat a shield token on this unit, and if you do, prevent that damage. So he basically allows you to pass around his shield token to anybody who takes damage. This is a really good card. A 5/4 is statted very well at the 4 cost, and then you also get a shield that can go anywhere. So you can basically shield a Sentinel. If there's another way, like an Anakin Skywalker that comes out on 5, you can give him another shield. This can be a really good card, and I'm interested to see how people build around this and try to give them extra shields or do fun things with them.
It's interesting too because like it's a shield that's better than a normal shield if it's behind like a Sentinel because you choose when to use it. It's not like the shield is blocked. There you go. It's like well you hit me with your big guy, then I'll block it. But like there, it's not like you can just pop it with a 1 damage thing. You're just like well, I'll just let you take the damage there. Like it's that extra shield makes it so much more potent and flexible behind a Sentinel.
Absolutely.
And then we also have the blue green or the blue villainy cards back, which are probably going to bring blue green and blue red villainy pretty strong looking here. We have our 7-drop Chimera, big ship, sack one of your units to sack an enemy non-leader unit, and then you start healing. Everything you kill starts healing. This is it's only a 6/6, but honestly, if they don't answer it right away, you're just going to clean up the board. And if you just throw it in space against a mostly ground unit deck, it might just live there and you kind of can just heal a ton. It's pretty crazy. And then if they don't deal with it in that round, you have Pre-Vizsla following it up on the 8 resource turn, and he's just going to kind of snowball your board even further. Main pitfalls with Pre-Vizsla are your opponent's Pre-Vizsla. So if they're in blue villain, you can sure as hell guarantee that they're going to be playing Pre-Vizsla in 2 or 3 probably quantity. And whoever uses it second kind of usually is going to end up ahead there, because you kind of just take their tokens and flip them to your side. And then Bo-Katan is kind of the only other big like blowout against Pre-Vizsla. But overall, like this, like even if you kill one 6 HP or less like unit, you're getting a 6/6 and a 2/2 shielded, and killing a unit. I mean, it's basically like still crazy value for even at that amount. So I think both these cards are great. You're going to be playing 2 or 3 of them in every blue villain deck that isn't running low to the ground somehow. So
All right, that wraps up our vigilance cards. Let's move over to command. Carlos?
Yep. And then starting off with command, I have the T6 shuttle. This is a card that we've all seen before in Bright Hope, except it actually has more upsides. Instead of drawing a card, you're able to tap and attack with another unit to give it +2/+2 for the phase, so you're just getting a temporary buff or action contention on the ground while just having a sentinel that Green Hero has just needed for the past few sets against space decks. We saw Vader stick around, we saw Boba, Luke, and like so Obi-Wan just needed something to slow down the aggression, to bridge to Yoda's and hyperspace disasters. So now we finally got a card there. And then another interesting card we have is Luke Skywalker. It's funny enough is he's kind of just coordinate but harder to get on, so I'm not sure how good this will be. But if you're able to just go wide and play him down, he's just a bombing run to your opponent only. So I see a lot of value in here. And worst case, he's a 5/5 restore 1, so he's not terribly below curve. You don't feel good ever casting him without his ability, but he's still a good unit in himself.
Yeah, and for the mono command cards, we have the Dark Saber. It's a +4/+2 4 cost upgrade, and it gains the leader trait. So this is where it gets a little interesting because there is no more Rivals Fall. The only way to really get rid of this then is by having upgrade hate, and that generally doesn't kill the leader or the unit that it's on anyway. So this card, if not prepared to deal with it, can really snowball. It's +4 damage, so put this on a unit and start swinging the base. The game's going to be over real quick if your opponent doesn't have a great answer to this. The other card that's also really good is the Trask Walker, similar to the Reinforcement Walker that all of the control players loved. So when played and on attack, choose a unit in your discard pile that costs 7 or less. Either put that card on the bottom and heal 3, or return it to your hand. So I actually think this is a little bit better than a Reinforcement Walker. I believe the Reinforcement Walker was statted 1 extra damage, but here, instead of milling yourself, you're actually putting cards back in your deck or cards back in your hand, and you get to choose the ones out of your discard pile. So a little bit different here. In the end, still healing 3, returning a card to your hand. So this card has a lot of upside and potential in the future meta.
yeah, I do love the Walker. I was always a big fan of Reinforcement Walker, so having that back is going to be really nice. Then we got Moff Gideon, our 3-drop 2/5 Sentinel. Even just that alone, the fact that he's a 3-drop 2/5 Sentinel is pretty nice to just kind of muck up the arena. Like we look at like the droid, the 2/1 blue droid with a shield, and this is effectively like fairly similar stats to that. Once you count in his shield, he's going to take at least 2 hits from the early game to take out, maybe even 3 if you're playing in the world of 2/4s everywhere. And then he also has the one defeated to pull a non-unique Imperial back from your discard into your hand, which can be very powerful. I'd say like the best thing you can hope for like early game is you can pull back your 3/3 droid commando or your armored droids, the 4-3 Sentinel. So if you end up playing Moff Gideon a little bit later, being able to just pull back the 4-3 shielded Sentinels from your discard is really powerful. So he's just kind of a good value guy. And then we have our big green finisher for villainy, the Ravager. 8/10 in space that deals 8 damage, or its power damage when you play it, and has Restore 2. This is kind of like akin to the Devastator, one cheaper, a little worse because it only hits the same arena, but at the same time, this is a game ender. If they don't kill this the round that it comes out, you just start dealing crazy damage everywhere. And the fact that it already is going to probably kill things in space. The fact, like, it will kill a Liberty, which is huge. Like, it kills basically almost all the main, like, other ships at, like, prior resources costs to this.
Yeah, that'll wrap up our command cards, and let's go to our aggression.
Yep, and then for aggression, we got a couple of really interesting cards. Starting off, I want to talk about Ninth Sister, and that's just because 4-star was one of my favorite cards. I played a lot of Quinlan, and while it doesn't have the upside of you can choose yourself, so you are banking on your opponent not having cheap cards in hand, even if you're hitting for 2 to 3, you're going up in a card advantage while developing an 8/7 unit, which is pretty good on curve, and it has Overwhelm. So I think this is just a strong bridge card for all these red aggression decks. Even a small amount of damage is good enough when you're hitting their card in hands as well. And then Cyborg Mech is an interesting one because when played, either deal 2 damage to an undamaged unit or 5 damage to a damaged unit. And so this is really meant to pair with a new Cad Bane leader because you just ping something once or twice on flip and then hit it for 5. So you're killing something with 6 or 7 HP on flip while developing a 3/7 grit body. This really helps you stabilize the flip turn and then also just develop board as well.
And then for our just mono aggression cards, we have the Pegasus Tri-Wing, aka Spark Falcon Light. When played, you may defeat an upgrade on this unit if you do ready it. So this is going to see, I assume, some play in Grief Red. So you can give it an advantage token, defeat it, and then ready it. There could be some other combos out there, but I think that's going to be the main one we're going to see is it in Grief, and just an extra way to push some damage. And then just a bigger cost unit in the aggression pool is going to be Boba Fett's Rancor. It's an 8/9 for 8. When played, deal 5 damage to your base, and then you can deal 5 damage to an enemy ground unit and deal 5 more damage to it. So this is going to get rid of those annoying commandos. It is going to take 5 damage to your base, but like I said at the start of this, there's limited removal in this set. So, if you do get one of these and let's say limited, it is a legendary, but it's a big unit and it's going to be able to deal some damage and clear out some units. So just overall big body, good for the stats here.
And next we have Whistling Birds. It's a +2/+2 upgrade, but when you hit their base with that unit, you have to deal 2 damage to every other unit, opponent unit in the arena. Seems pretty good. Like it reminds me of the Fallen Saber, but a little bit better, but only if you're hitting base. So like there's some caveats to it. I wouldn't say that it's like definitely includes in like every kind of deck thing, but I can definitely see if Talzin Red is ever a thing again. She's kind of like the perfect, like that 5 cost leader. Slap this on them. They're bigger, they're stronger, and if they hit base, they're just gonna annihilate your board. I think it's more of a card that's said to watch out for and is interesting than just straight up going to be super powerful. And then we also have Zeb, which is 7 cost 5/7, gain 3 advantage tokens. But then whenever any upgrade is defeated, including advantage tokens, you deal damage to base. He's kind of weird statted for 7, not like the greatest. When you count in Grief maybe you go up to 7 on grief and play something like Zeb as like the finisher, because you're going to be just generating 1 extra base damage, turn you into kind of like Sabine there. It's just kind of like a weird damage from hand almost like character. Yeah, I think he's interesting. I mean, he's a legendary, and honestly, like a lot of the cards we're looking at here are legendaries because for like the first time in a while, I feel like the legendaries actually feel pretty playable. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them.
All right, that wraps up our aggression cards, and then we'll go to cunning.
Yeah, one of my favorite cards I've noticed in this new set is Remnant Lookouts, and I loved Bazine when I first started playing Boba in set 2. Any deck can run it, as long as your yellow's no longer villainy locked. It's actually better stats, being a 3/3, so it kind of just feels like a weird mix between Bodhi and Bazine. But I think this is just a good card. While you don't like your opponent's drawing into new cards, as long as you're hitting a bomb or something important, you can mess up their curve and just stall time until they have to draw a second copy of card. So I do think this is a good way to just mess up your opponents. We don't have the powerful tools like Pillage or Cure anymore, so I do think this is probably one of the better generic hand-hate cards.
Also, a Imperial non-unique you can take back from Gideon if you're playing green-yellow ability.
And then also we have Jod. It's just a 4/3 Force Sentinel, so importantly, Tall's in yellow, you finally got a good turn 2 play. It's just a 4/3 Sentinel, but it has a when played, you may pay 4 resources. If you do, exhaust enemy units in an arena. So it's just a unit that has outmaneuver stuck to it. So once you get to the 7+ resource turns, you have another copy of outmaneuver, and then you just also just have a unit on curve. So it's not a dead or awkward card that you just feel bad sitting on your hand the entire game. So the flexibility is actually really nice here.
Yeah, and then another card that can actually go well into Tails and Yellow is the Elzar Man. If you control a force leader, he comes in readied. So this could go in like Talzin or maybe like an Obi-Wan yellow or a Luke yellow, something like that. Um, and then he has a when played, you can give up to 5 advantage tokens. The opponent then searches twice that many cards for an event in their deck. So there's a little bit of a downside, but playing him for 6 resources threatens 8 damage if you're able to keep a readied unit at the cost of your opponent searching some cards for an event. So if you can stall a little bit, which Talzin does pretty well with all of her actions, you're able to then get 8 extra damage for 6 resources. Really good reach card. At worst, even if you don't distribute any advantage tokens, he's similar to like a Cassian that we saw for 1 extra, got a couple extra health, but he is a force unit as well. The other card that I really like in the set is Keller and Beck. He's a 3/5 ambusher. Gets +1 for each unit, friendly and enemy, with 0 powers. So going to be very interesting to see decks like Lando, Faith in Your Friend decks, mirrors with Faith in Your Friend decks, having Kellerans just ambushing everywhere for a lot of damage. And even go into something like Grief, ambush for at minimum 4, maybe more. I really like Keller, and I think he'll be in a couple decks in the coming tournaments. And as Nick just talked about, he is a legendary as well. So that's good to see.
We have the Heroic Purgil, the 5-cost 3/6 ambusher, but he gets +2 while ambushing, which makes him a 5/6. The 5 is kind of huge in space. It kind of kills most of the big stuff. Like you're not killing the Ahsoka ship, the new Bright Hope 2.0 with it, but I mean most other everything else that's coming out on 4 or earlier you can kill. You can kill a hauler. This guy's going to keep some of the space decks in check, and I think that's really good to have. Between this and Blue Ace, I feel like, I don't know if you're playing both going forward, but it's just another big, good space ambusher. And then we have Sabine Wren, who's 5-cost 4/5 shielded. but when you attach an upgrade, you get to exhaust a ground unit, and that means you player and you immediately exhaust a unit. I feel like that tempo is already just really nice. Keep you ahead on the board with grief. You get to give her a advantage token and immediately do it again, so you get 2 exhausts on play, which is kind of crazy. And then she's a 5/5 shielded. It's okay that she doesn't have ambush because she's kind of just taking over the board. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many decks we're gonna see playing. Like, I don't know if this makes Lando over some of the other stuff you're playing right now. I think she's kind of in like the Rose slot, probably there. And it's just kind of a matter of where that deck goes in comparison to other things, but I think she's just pretty strong. And then if you have other things that can give out more upgrades or advantage tokens going forward, that's going to just be even crazier.
All right, and that wraps up our cunning cards, and then we have the last section, which is our multi aspects and our hero and villain. So, Carlos, you want to talk to us about our multi aspects that we saw?
Yep, we once again got some more curved fillers for villainy, except this one's a really good one. It's a 3-cost, 2/6 with Merrick being a sentinel. And we talked about earlier, we had a 2/5 sentinel for 3. 2/6, it's just even better. It's going to sit around, it's really annoying. And we don't see many 3/3s on turn 1 anymore. That's like kind of the old meta. It's now a bunch of 2/4s, so suddenly this is eating like 2 to 3 swings for most decks, or they're putting a lot of resources into removing it. And then importantly, it's also the force. So Talzin now just has more ways to destroy aggro decks on the ground. And then we have another interesting card in Jabba the Hutt, who's a 4-cost, 2/6, restore 2, but is when played, allows you to return an upgrade to its owner's hand. And then if it's your upgrade, you can replay it. So you can do some interesting things like bounce a saber from one unit to another one. But the most important thing is this is just a villainy, not red, importantly, upgrade 8, that also kills Luke Pilot. So worst case, this is just a fine body that restores into upgrade 8, but then has a lot of neat tricks.
Yeah, I don't know what deck it's going to go in, but I do like it. It's just like a cool card.
Everybody loves a good Jabba. So some hero cards that we have. Anakin Skywalker. Looking at him at first, I didn't really get the hype, but the more I've played the set, I do understand why he's good. 5-cost, 6/4 with hidden saboteur and gives a shield to a friendly unit. So just big body with hidden. You can't necessarily deal with it right away unless you're playing like removal, and he gives out a shield to something like the Mandalorian or Sentinel that you played earlier, or just a unit you're trying to keep alive. So just good stats and a good one playability with Saboteur as well. With all of the shielded Sentinels running around, Saboteur can be very important. Another fun card. This is more specific to Grief as well. Maybe something like Leia could benefit from this card as well. But a 2/4 with support on attack if the unit's upgraded, deal 2 damage to a base. So if you start, a 2-drop with Grief, you play this, you get an extra damage from the advantage, then 2 extra damage from the on attack with the support, and then give this thing an advantage token as well. So it swings for 5 to base. So this is a really good early push at base for some aggro decks, similar to a Fleet Lieutenant almost. This is really going to push a lot of damage early and try to get those aggro decks or quick tempo decks ahead on base early.
Yeah, and then we got One Must Destroy to Create, the sweet Balin art card that kind of reminds me of a New Adventure, but in villainy. And it actually triggers the one defeats, and it triggers the one playeds. So if you have stuff with good triggers, like this just seems really nice. If you're playing it in Jump to Lightspeed Thrawn, you get to basically trigger your one defeats. You can blow up your legacy run and then deal 12 damage and then play it again, ready to just destroy the next turn. It costs 3. It's pretty good price to be able to trigger some of these effects again. And it kind of just fits in with like that villainy package of like things that you're gonna do. I think like obviously with Thrawn you get like the double use with the when defeateds, but just some of the like using it on Chimera to play it again, kill one of your guys, kill one of theirs. You got a kill spell on 3 resources there. You got replaying Pre-Vizsla after you played him, kill some more stuff, make more Mando tokens. Kind of the potential is very high. Whether or not like you can play it every game is probably harder to say, but high potential. And then speaking of high potential, we got Aya Scion. I don't know this card's actually be playable, but this is like my hope card. It's like this card could be fun to play. My like only thoughts right now is like Krennic, Green Krennic from A Lawless Time, because he can play this on like round 4, 3 or 4 if you get a lot of good credit stuff early, and then just hope that they can't ever answer with it, and you just start dropping free stuff every round. Infinite value. If you ever play like something like a Craving Power on it, it gets even crazier because then you can start playing the big ships and stuff. Interesting card, and I feel like someone might find a way to break that card someday. We'll see.
All right, and that is it for Blue Milk Gaming. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for watching the video, and have a nice day.
Catch you next time.